What's up, everybody? They do love us. They do. They really do, John. They gave us the tournament companion, which we all wanted. We all want to know how to play this game in a tournament setting. You know, like, do we stand on objectives? What missions do we use? None of that made any sense. And now it does. I'm so happy.
Indeed. Games Workshop has actually dropped the Leviathan Tournament Companion on the Warhammer community website. Thank you, GW, for dropping that off for freezies. Just, not making that something we have to buy. We've all bought a lot recently, I don't know about y'all.
Yeah.
About you?
We've all been buying stuff.
We've all been buying stuff. Yeah. It's a new edition. It's hype. But we got a free Leviathan Tournament Companion where Games Workshop is going to tell us exactly how to play the game we love at a tournament.
And you know what I'm super excited about, in addition to just the fact that this document exists? It's what it represents. They've never come out with a tournament companion before. Like, Games Workshop is up until 9th edition, all the tournaments were independently run by, local organizers or, above that organizers, but external organizers. And then 9th, they started running their own tournaments, but it was event by event by event. And now they really have, actual support for a Games Workshop-backed tournament format, which I actually love.
Yeah, I'm excited that they just actually wrote it all down, honestly. Because a lot of this is going to look very familiar to anyone who's been to a US Open. But it's nice having it written down in advance, not, just sending a bunch of Discord messages to your friend who works for GW and hoping that it's actually what ends up happening.
This is so much better. This is official. This is legitimate. This is a step that our game needs to take to become a more legitimate game in the overall sphere of the world's economy. So I'm all for it.
All right. So let's go ahead and, what do you want to do? You want to just dive through this? It's only 8 pages here. Some of them are going to be pretty fast. You want to read through this, kind of talk about what's important and what people need to know?
Yeah, I don't think we need to read it verbatim or anything.
No.
Before we start reading it, I think we need to remind everybody that we are Art of War. We're a competitively focused Warhammer channel focused on helping getting you better at Warhammer, helping you learn the game, become your best. So if you're interested in our content, this is going to be a review video of the Leviathan Tournament Companion, but we do tons of other stuff. We've reviewed all the indexes. We're going through all our favorite combos right now in the War Room. Do us a favor, check out the channel.
We even play games with those rules.
We even play games. We even teach you how to do better in your game. So, while you're here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of John's hat. We all like John's hat.
I like John's hat.
He likes his hat. So,
all right,
everybody. Let's get into it. The Leviathan Tournament Companion.
All right, so this is basically Games Workshop's guide for how to run a tournament. And a lot of this is going to be a bit of what you'd expect, so we're not going to spend too long on the things that are obvious. And it's basically going to tell us all of this is what's actually in the event, so let's go through it. Boop, boop, boop. So in a tournament, this is the sequence. Determine the mission. That'll usually be preset by the organizer. Place objective markers as set up by the mission. Here's a quick note. This part here, this matters.
What's this say?
So this says that one line that we all hated in the book, in the main rule book, we're all like, oh, this is terrible. We don't want to do this. Don't worry, we don't have to. If you're playing on a 40mm objective, in a tournament, they recommend that you treat it as flat and don't use it to block your opponent's nuts.
So let me explain why this matters to you, especially in the context of the 10th edition missions where the objectives are wonky and move and can be replaced and stuff. If you can't move over an objective marker or stand on it, it effectively becomes impassable terrain. So you're adding 5 impassable pillars to your table just arbitrarily. Yeah. And for some armies that fly, that's not a big deal. For some armies that are very nimble, like Eldar. But then for some armies like Knights, this is 5 more pieces of terrain I can't walk through. Awesome. And there's just, for balance purposes, this is just better for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad. And I kind of predicted that this was going to be a house rule, but it's nice that it was an in-house rule from Games Workshop, so now we don't have to ask questions.
So I'm pretty sure the idea behind this rule in the first place was that if you want to make a scenic base, now...
Don't break it.
Don't break it, but there's a practical element here to placing objectives. I'm glad it's clarified for tournament specific.
Yeah, and this also means if you do have a scenic base, something pretty that you want to use at a tournament, I think you can just take a flat poker chip and just as soon as the knight gets on top of it, just be like, oops, switcheroo.
Yeah.
And then we'll put it back later. All right, next step, create the battlefield. This is exactly what you'd expect, but it's going to give us terrain layouts later in the pack. So this is exactly what you'd expect. Not much to say here. Let's get to the next page. The next page is where they've made some updates, because this is intended to be run with the Leviathan mission pack, which is the deck of cards that is either sold separately or included in the Leviathan box. So if you got the Leviathan box, if you ordered one, you're going to have this deck as well. Now, there's 3 changes total. One of them is to the primary mission, deploy Servo Skulls. And they've made the changes in red, which is great, and I really hope they do that literally forever and ever. Yeah. Changes in red.
This is a great system. Just changes in red. If it was going to be changed within the text, it'd be easy to spot.
Change it in red.
What he said.
And the main change here is for deploy Servo Skulls, that these conditions are not cumulative, which means that an objective in your opponent's deployment zone is also wholly within 6, is also wholly within 12. You just take the best of those 3 things.
Right.
But if you get 2 objectives, because it is for each objective, so if you get 2 objectives in your opponent's deployment zone, 1, how? 2, you would get 16 points.
I did that just last time I played this mission.
Oh, fancy.
So it really stopped you from getting 15 points as soon as you got 1 objective in your deployment zone, which, that would snowball this mission really, really quickly. Yeah. And, in theory, you could score 45 primary in 1 battle round, which is just way too much.
Yeah, that's too many.
Yeah.
So, overall, I think this is I honestly would have assumed that this was the default, but I'm glad that they either clarified or made it that way, because if it was 15 points for just kicking a football into your opponent's deployment zone, that'd be too many.
Yeah.
So, I'm totally happy with this change. Now, they've made 2 more changes to 2 secondary missions here. And these appear to be, essentially, changes for the fixed objectives. So, the first one is deploy teleport homers.
Yeah.
And it has made the center of the battlefield 3 victory points. That's highlighted in red. And then, of course, the opponent's deployment zone is still 4 victory points if fixed or 5 if tactical. And what this used to be was the center of the battlefield was 2 or 3 if tactical. Now it's 3 no matter what. So it's just the tactical and the fixed are now the same for the center, rather than tactical being more. But tactical is still worth more for getting your opponent's deployment zone.
So this is cool. It's a nice change for fixed. Same idea with behind me lines here. Instead of getting 2 points when you do a fix with 1 unit, you're going to get 3 points for getting your opponent's deployment zone, only if you take the fixed version. So it raises that points floor up. I think that's nice just because getting 2 units in your opponent's deployment zone is genuinely actually hard. Doing the action in the center is far more likely than getting the action done in your opponent's deployment zone, so getting actual reward out of that is nice. So what's an interesting thing is that deploy teleport homers and behind me lines synergize really well together, because what you can do is just get a squad, deep strike it, put it into your opponent's deployment zone, and then have that squad perform an action. And that squad is now getting you 8 points on secondaries where it would used to get you 6.
Yeah. So behind main lines, just real simple. If you have 1 unit in, it's worth 3 points in fixed. Everything else is essentially the same as before. Even if they worded it a bit different to make the whole card consistent, it still functions the same. Just 1 unit in your opponent's deployment zone, fixed, is worth 2. Or is worth 3 instead of 2.
Yeah. I think the reason they did this is because tactical, it's actually stronger than fixed in my opinion. So this is probably just to help fixed become a more viable choice.
Yeah, that definitely is what it looks like. They're just trying to make it kind of the second option of a couple of the fixed cards something, so that it's easier to get some points and not fall behind completely if you take some fixed, which I'm fine with. We'll see how this balance actually works out. I'm really curious to see if tournaments start recording fixed versus tactical choices. I'd actually love to see that kind of data. If BCP finds a way to enter that in the score sheet, I think that'd be really cool.
And we got a $5 super chat from Mozelia Delt over here. How do you recommend people new to tournaments find tournaments local to them? Do you have a recommended site or something similar? What did you do, John?
So a couple of things to look at is the Best Coast Pairings app. I would definitely recommend downloading it. It's something that is used for almost every tournament, and that's at least here. And of course, where you are is going to affect where you look for tournaments. But at least here in North America, Best Coast Pairings is used for almost every tournament, and you can set a location. Aura, basically, where you can say, let's look for events with this game system, Warhammer 40k, within 100 miles, within this date range, and that could try to help you find events. As well, the best thing to do in my mind is to always find local communities. So find Facebook groups for the game stores near you, go to those game stores, find Discord groups, etc. Find local communities. Those people will be aware of tournaments if they're happening, or if they're not happening, those are the people who you need to be in contact with to either organize or get on board if someone else is organizing tournaments.
Yep, John hit the nail on the head. The way I got into it was by going to local stores, becoming friends with people. People then know things, and then you go to tournaments that are local to you, and through local tournaments you get to regional tournaments, from regional you get to super major, and that's a pretty natural progression. The BCP app is also your best friend. It's free to download. Just download that. It's Best Coast Pairings is the technical name. But yeah, welcome to the Warhammer world. Hope to see you at tournament soon.
All right. So we're running through this. So it's now going to give us the Leviathan tournament mission pool. There are 15 tournament missions in the section, And these are the ones that we're supposed to kind of draw from. I like that there's more than 9, just because for 9-round events, they basically always did the same 9 in an order.
Yeah, I love that there's 15. I think that's like a good, healthy amount of missions to choose from. Like, you can't just solve the mission set. There's too many different missions to do here. And I also love that they addressed the fact that their mission system was 100% random, and like every person at a tournament would play a different mission. It would just be really weird. So this is awesome in my mind.
All right, so here we go. The mission rules, this is all basically use the cards. This will tell you what the effects are. Terrain layouts, they recommend using certain terrain layouts with certain deployment zones. Let's actually look at what this is. So here's my first complaint with the Leviathan tournament mission pool. They are A through O.
Yeah.
These need names.
Well, A, B, C, D are nomenclature.
And they need names.
They could
we're
use
gonna
better
start.
names.
We're gonna start making up names for them.
We already have, actually. John and I played a game yesterday. We're gonna use. We played Mission N, so N for Nick.
Yep. Yep. We're gonna give them names of missions instead of names for people. But GW, name your missions so that we can actually talk about them. Because saying I'm playing Mission J, I don't know what Mission J is. Give it something. Death and Wheels. Like, let's something.
Death and Wheels.
Death and Wheels.
Wow.
We're changing
nice.
mission names. Yeah. All right. There's 15 missions here. There's 5 different deployment zones. I think they're all in. Oh, they're actually not all in here 3 times. So Search and Destroy is in here 4 times. Sweeping Engagement's only in here twice. Dawn of War's only in here twice. Crucible of Battle is in here 4 times. Okay, so they seem to like Crucible of Battle and Search and Destroy more than Hammer and Anvil Dawn of War. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's also 15 missions though, and like typically Warhammer tournaments are not 15 rounds long, so tournaments could have choice of which missions they choose. So maybe that specific organizer's like, we're going to play 3 Hammer and Anvils today.
Indeed. So we do have 2 super chats real quick. Thank you so much for the support, everyone. Colt Hun, kill the Land Raider in turn 1 with 2 10-man Stern Guard. Oath of Moment is crazy. Stern Guard are gross. P.S. How to submit lists for list fixing. Oh, Colt, if you maybe saw yesterday's episode of Fix My List and you want to get your list fixed, let me tell you how to do it. You're going to want to either join the War Room on our website, the warroom.vhx.tv, or as a member of this YouTube channel and get in the Art of War Discord. There's a Fix My List section there. You can post your list in there, and that's where we choose the lists that are going to be fixed by Jack and Quentin in Fix My List. So, Colt Hunt, thank you so much for the super chat. Glad you're excited about Fix My List. Just become a member of either the War Room or YouTube to get access to our wonderful Discord. That's where you want to go.
Absolutely, and let's not forget the fact that 10 Stern Guard are gross.
That's 20 Stern Guard. 20 Stern Guard are better than 10.
That's
I love Stern Guard, Colt, so I'm all with you.
Yeah.
All right, and then JCMS Meta Monday, thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. 9 out of 15 having Chilling Rain is sad. Yep, that is the next part of this.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Wow. I like the mission special rules. I think they're quite fun.
They are mostly not there. So there's only 3 that are actually used. It's Chilling Rain, Hidden Supplies, Scrambler Fields. Oh, I'm sorry, there's 4. Chosen Battlefields.
Okay.
So there's only 4.
So Chosen Battlefields is the one where you place objectives around.
Yep.
And you pick them up and you alternate with your opponent. Scrambler Fields is no deep striking or infiltrating.
Or scouting onto an objective.
Yeah, well, it's no scouting, infiltrating at all, and then no deep striking on objectives. How is that?
No, just onto an objective.
Gotcha. Which one is Hidden Supplies?
I believe Hidden Supplies is the one where on a 4+ you gain a CP if you hold your home field.
That's the one.
Is that?
That's the
Do you
one.
think that's right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%
That might
on
be
that.
Supply Line.
Oh, man.
I think there's 2 that sound
If
very
it's Hidden
similar.
Supplies and Supply Lines, wouldn't be sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, only 4, which means there is a lot less randomness here. I do actually like, though, that Vox Static is gone. That was the one I didn't like.
Which one? 2 CP?
2 CP, 4
I liked
CP
that
roll.
one.
I didn't like that it was the New Orders was 2 CP.
I liked all of it.
I like New Orders as just having as a once-a-game strat. You don't need a once-a-game strat to cost double.
Sure.
It's just annoying. And then primaries. It looks like all of the primary missions are making an appearance here, even the ones that are a little bit wonkier, like Deploy Servo Skulls or the Ritual, Incisive Power. So interesting that all of them are making it in here, but not all the mission rules made it in.
Yeah, I think they designed the primaries to all be the primaries you're supposed to play, but I guess the mission rules they thought were imbalanced based on armies is my guess. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing here.
Yeah.
Dawn of War is typically the least balanced deployment style, so I'm very glad to see that has gone by the wayside.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them.
And then Hammer and Anvil is actually fairly imbalanced for these missions I'm finding, just because of how primary works and how tactical missions work. So
My favorite so far has honestly been Sweeping Engagement.
Yeah, Sweeping Engagement is like that new one where you're halfway up the field on the one side, and you're all the way to the corner on the other to create this triangle.
Yeah.
I quite like that one. It's very similar in my mind to Search and Destroy in that old Vanguard style, so they're all kind of variations of themselves. But that's always been my favorite diagonal style.
They're saying Hidden Supplies might be the additional objective one.
Oh, it could be.
Okay.
Could be. I don't think I played that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. It's basically you just take the middle and turn it into 2 objectives.
Okay.
It's just like, you really get a lot of points for being in the middle suddenly.
All right.
Interesting. Okay, so putting it all together, I think practicing all of these is going to be nice. It is nice to have actual missions. It is a bit unfortunate that not all the mission rules made it in, but at least now we have a better idea of what is going to be expected in a tournament scene. So for those of us who like to practice for tournaments, get ready for large events, this is really nice to see.
Yeah, you don't have to just hope you draw the mission you're gonna play at the tournament.
Yeah, I didn't want to know that.
But you know what is really exciting? We are restarting our mission series in the War Room. So right now we're releasing our mission series video on Mission A later today. That's gonna be Take, Hold, Chilling, Raid, Search, and Destroy. What we do in this strategy session series is every week I break down one of the missions from deployment to special rule to mission primary and the different layouts that you can play it on. And I explain how you can approach it for the different perspectives of different armies. So some armies are going to be better at primary missions. Some armies are going to be better at secondary. Some armies are shooty, some armies are slow, some armies are fast. And I try to hit it from all the different perspectives to teach you how you should focus on playing the mission, which objectives you should play for, how to set yourself up to score your tactical cards. If you're interested in checking that out, you can join our 3-day free trial in the War Room right now. It's in the link below, thewarroom.vhx.tv. You'll get access to the strategy session, the coaching matches, and so many more. John's doing the whole 10-minute tip series.
That's true.
It's awesome stuff. So great time to hop in.
All right. So let's go ahead and hit the next page of the document. Here they're giving us terrain layouts. This is where they're going to give us missions and a little bit of a key for the recommended terrain layouts that are intended for this terrain. And this definitely looks like it's going to be what's going to be in play at the new GW Open season. So that's very good to see. Now, a couple recommendations they make. They say that there's no fixed measurements, so that people don't feel bad when things get slightly off, basically. But they do recommend that there's at least 4 inches between all physical edges of terrain features, so that Imperial Knights and other large models can actually still play the game.
Yeah.
Which is completely fair. As a Knight player, I would very much like to be able to walk. Objective markers should never intersect a wall or similar element. And then the use of ruins. A good amount of line of sight blockage. Remember that. Variety of heights, also line of sight. Rules are sponge fire. Let me see. For organizing players with a more robust terrain collection, incorporate features such as woods, barricades, hills, and dirt terrain. Hills, lights, perfect acceptable. Okay, so nothing much here. Just saying, when in doubt, use your own toys.
What is saying a lot though? Colt Hun's $10 super chat.
Yep.
How do you feel about eliminators? I've been running 9, and they're doing great at killing characters. Most recently, Snipe Drago and Crow running with Phobos Captain.
Yeah, I actually haven't tried eliminators yet. I think that they're still really potent with how important sniping characters is. I could see eliminators being a really useful tool to have, especially that Phobos Captain to get redeployed. Sniping Crow and Drago sounds really impactful. I would imagine if you're able to get those kind of kills that's going to really help you get a win on the battlefield. So maybe I'm going to have to try some eliminators soon. I've always loved them. I've got my 9, so I would love to get them on the table again soon.
And then Lexi157 has been a member for 8 months. Thank you so much, Lexi.
Woo!
Solo Abby or Abby and Friends, and is 12 a blitz plus 3 Forged Greens too many. Doesn't matter, I have the models and I will use them.
Forged Friends.
Forged Friends! Oh, Alexi with the Forged Friends. I didn't even catch that. You're the best. Okay. So I like Abby with Friends. I think Abaddon really needs an escort and entourage.
Absolutely.
12 a blitz, I don't know if you follow my crusade of anti-obliterator, but that is 12 too many in my opinion. 3 Forged Friends, though, I can get behind 3 Forged Friends.
I think 4 or 8 obliterators is a good number. They are definitely a significant investment, so I don't know if I'd go with 12 personally, although honestly, if you're leaning into it, I mean, 12 a blitz and 3 Forged Friends is a lot of firepower.
I'm not here to tell you no.
That's good stuff. Thank you so much for the support, Lexi. Glad you've been a member for 8 months. Alright, so here's the terrain key. So basically the gray is area terrain, and then they're suggesting kind of an outline for ruin walls. And they recommend that wall sections shown in thin lines should be like 2 inches tall, and then never more than 4 inches in height. So, and then while wall sections are should always be more than 4 inches in height. So solid rectangles should be more than 4 inches. Okay, so basically this is like little scatter terrain, like what we see in the U.S. Opens, where you can kind of like see like an intercessor over it usually.
Yeah.
And then this solid wall, at least 4 inches tall, you could really hide something behind it.
Nice.
That's kind of what they recommend. All right.
Then we have the layouts.
We have 4 layouts here. So this is looking like it's similar to the old GW layouts with one notable exception. Those 4 12 by 12 squares appear to be 8 6 by 12 rectangles now.
Yeah. I think they got somebody at the GW Buzzsaw collection and just went to Choptown on those 12 by 12s.
Indeed.
I really like this. I think splitting those big chunky pieces into more smaller ones is exactly what the game needed.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of that. And by the way, I'm a big fan of Colt Hun gifting 5 Art of War memberships to the chat. Thank you, Colt. We really appreciate you. I'm sure everyone in the chat does as well.
Thank you, Colt.
All right, so each layout kind of was recommended for certain deployments, which you can see up above in the 15 missions. But, there's a nice piece in every corner here. And then a lot more line of sight blocking in the middle means it's... Because there was kind of a thing with GW terrain in the past where you could just hide in your zone, and there was 4 just basically impossible castles that you never got to see into. Right. And then if you were even remotely mobile or had fly, the entire open part of the board, the middle, just was a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
If you could get the angles, that was it.
Another aspect of it was very predictable where you would place your army because there were 4 big line of sight blockers and each player had 2. So you put your stuff behind those, and that's basically how you played the game. Now there's so much more back and forth potential for different spots and different angles. I really like the layouts, at least from a just first glance type of thing. And they have an increased amount of obscuring. I think that's just so necessary in this day and age.
Fully agreed on more obscuring being what we want.
Yeah. They're all kind of variations of themselves, though. Basically, one big piece in each corner and then a congested middle area.
Yep. So the next one, again, we've got still 8. No, I lied. There's 6. No, these are the smaller ones that already existed.
They're still obscuring, though, right?
Yeah, but this one... okay, yeah, so it looks like they did that with all of them. They've now got 6 6 by 12s, and then I think these are 5 by 10, and then these are the small ones. Okay, cool. So still a place in each corner, a kind of congested middle where it's going to be hopefully a little bit easier to move around the middle of the battlefield while having some kind of angle denying. Because you don't want to get shot wherever you live.
Right.
So... yeah, it looks like all of these are kind of variations of the same thing.
One thing, going up to layout too here, that top left corner, bottom right corner, those 2 are pretty barren outside of one nice ruin.
That is true. I would imagine that this layout. I wonder what
we can go check.
For. Let's go take a look real quick. I'm kind of curious here. So layout 2.
Let's look at deployment styles and compare them to layouts. So it looks like search and destroys are played on 1, 3, and 4. Sweep engagements are played on all of them. What else we got? Hammer and Anvils 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, so every single one likes terrain layout 1.
Okay, so everybody likes 1.
Terrain layout 2 doesn't work for search and destroy. Okay, but it looks like 2 works for everything but Crucible of Battle and search and destroy. So those are the 2 corner ones.
Okay.
So let's look at layout 2 again. So it looks like they think that this is fine for Dawn of War, but isn't good for a corner deployment, which makes sense because if you're like in a diagonal like this and you just walk there, you just kind of see everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah, so that makes sense.
There's no way to expand if you're in the bottom right as your deployment zone, or sorry, the left as your deployment zone. So you can't expand to the top left without just dying.
Yep.
So I like this as a Dawn of War style actually.
Yeah, as Dawn of War, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Before we hit terrain layout 3. Let's hit a super chat from Super Baharoth.
Super Baharoth swooping in, $5.
Thank you so much, Super Baharoth. In an ideal world, what do you change about towering so that big knights aren't worthless, but also don't just auto-win going first sometimes? I have an opinion. I'm a knight player. You want to go first, though?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I would like to fundamentally change the way towering works. Not necessarily to be like 9th edition. I do feel like knight players shouldn't just be screwed out of their ability to shoot and see things and getting shot back. But it could be something as simple as like just obscuring works for everybody. Don't classify knights as a different type of model. If I can't see you, you can't see me. There's a lot of ways you could rewrite the rules, but I think towering, in my opinion, should be rewritten. What they do, though, we'll see.
If I got to choose, if James Workshop himself hit me up on Messenger, I would delete it from the game. Straight gone. Knights can hide behind walls. You can hide from knights.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Make it simple.
Just don't be like, oh, because I think that's also a weird thing for new players.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, you can't see through this unless you have the right keywords, and it's usually obvious what's towering and what isn't, but sometimes it's not. Like, I can look at a knight and say, oh, that's towering, that makes sense. But, like, if I look at a knight next to Mortarion, I honestly don't get why I can shoot one, not the other.
Yeah.
And from a balance perspective, I get why they did that. That's fine, but it's not intuitive. And also, you know what? If you can't shoot at a knight every instance that it's on the board, I think that's okay. They can't shoot at you either, and a knight is generally harder to hide than another model anyways. So if you want to go out and shoot a knight, it's usually easier than going out to shoot a guardsman. I
would like if the game mechanically worked the same for everybody, and then just things had different wound counts and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
As a knight player, I would like it if they just took towering, crumpled it up into a small paper ball, and then put it in a recycling bin.
Yeah.
Just gone.
That would feel great.
That would feel great. Terrain layout 3. More things. So this is a little more angular. This looks like it's a little easier to hide on those corner missions, which is pretty good because these walls are actually facing the right way. So I like layout 3. This one looks very similar, actually, to the old GW layout 2. You just push these walls back a little bit and then add some ruins in the middle. So that looks nice. I like this more than GW layout 2. And with more terrain pieces physically on the table, it's a little bit easier to make the directions work.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing I like.
One thing I really love that they're doing is they're creating these like hybrid pieces where you have two corners touching to make functionally an enormous L. But also you can play two different angles from it. So that's kind of innovative in terms of like we haven't seen that before by tournament formats. I really like that.
Oh yeah, the two squares just kind of, I like that too.
A little corner kiss.
Yep. And one more terrain layout for? Oh, sorry, did you still want to?
I was just going to say, I think it's especially relevant on those two central pieces. No, layout 3 still.
Layout 3, okay.
Layout 3, middle pieces.
Yeah.
Because usually those middle pieces don't actually function too appropriately if you play like a hammer and anvil or a quarter style, because it's really easy to just get an angle around them. Because I think they're caddy corner like that, they're actually highly functional.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, fully agreed with that.
I like that.
I like it too. Yeah, I think it is very good and functional.
Yeah.
Finally, terrain layout 4. This is where we've got big L.
Big L. This reminds me of old G-dubs.
Yeah, this looks like an old G-dub
one. Let me guess, this is hammer and anvil.
It probably is actually. Let's take a look.
Let's play layout 4.
Who doesn't use layout 4? So
hammer and anvil certainly does.
Everyone except Dawn of War uses layout 4.
Okay.
So let's go back down to layout 4.
Layout 4.
So not Dawn of War, but all of the corners, because all the corners go top left or bottom left, top right.
Yeah.
So if you do any of the corner ones, you always have this or hammer and anvil.
So if you do, you're always going to have the giant L in your deployment zone.
Yeah.
And if you do corners, it's going to be like where you stage your entire army.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Seems fair. I like it.
I don't think I like that, but it is what it is.
I like hiding.
I know you like. I like hiding too. I'm gonna be an abuser of this, but it doesn't mean it's good for the game.
All right, so those are the 4 layouts. I'm really excited to see them actually in person.
Yeah.
Rather than just as the top downs here, I think that'll help it out. But this is still a great foundation point, I think, for TOs to kind of make their own terrain.
What it is. It's a great starting place because now we have a frame of reference for like how to play 10th edition properly. As told us by Games Workshop, it's official. It exists. It's never existed before. It's a real tournament document. I'm just super excited for this thing's existence.
Yeah. Again, I'm just really glad they wrote it all down. All right, we've got two super chats here.
Two super chats?
Two super chats. And one of them is from Pretty Odd. Thank you, Pretty Odd, for the support. Big Knights would struggle to get wholly within terrain features, however. Maybe towering is -1 to hit or can toe into ruins. I wouldn't mind if towering was just you can see through a ruin that you're within instead of wholly within.
Yeah.
I think that would actually be very fair, because then you can still hide from knights behind terrain. It just makes it a little easier for a knight to shoot over a terrain feature that it's directly in front of. And I think that's where towering like really makes sense. If you're looking straight down on someone, I'm okay with them shooting.
Yeah, like if there's a knight outside my house here, like I'm gonna get seen.
Yeah, I don't mind knights being able to shoot through a terrain feature that's right in front of them. What I hate is when there's a terrain feature 24 inches from a knight and a guardsman 27 inches from a knight, and that guy is getting blasted across the pavement.
I just hate the fact that it makes the true line of sight element of your physical terrain aspect such a prominent factor. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry your local game store has some windows. Looks like nights are broken. Like that's what feels
Exactly.
bad.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, they didn't get around to boxing up all of the
right.
all the windows yet. They left a couple open. Oh no. So yeah, I think I'd actually that I'll change it to that. If towering let you shoot through terrain features that you are within, not wholly within.
That's a great change.
That would be a great change that keeps knights functional but doesn't let them just downtown shoot everyone.
Yeah.
Which is what I want.
And then Cold Time with a $5 super chat. How vital is Gilliman? I've been running a Grav cap, Phobos cap, Uriel, and Calgar pretty well. He just seems so expensive to squeeze in.
I don't think Gulliman is mandatory, but I think he's worth playing with. If you haven't tried out old Bobby G yet, I'd recommend it, especially since you seem to already like your Ultramarine characters. I kind of view Gulliman as, let me take 3 characters, roll them into a ball, and just put in the middle of my army. Mm-hmm. And so I look at Gulliman as, I'm going to now take a lot less characters, because I've taken the main character. Because, you've got a lot of characters there. They're all very good, but if you took 2 captains and Calgar, or, Uriel, well, you actually have 3 captains and a chapter master. Godspeed, sir. This man's using stratagems.
I think at that point, Gilliman is vital just to bring the whole Super Friend squad.
Absolutely. With those characters.
With them. Don't cut anybody.
There you go.
Oh, man. I love the Ultraman characters. They're so fun.
They are very fun. All right. That's it for the terrain layouts. What they say next is a quick recommendation on how to pair players and how to rank players. And what they've written down here is basically how they do it at the GW US Open. So if you've ever been to those events, this is the same pairing style. And this is something these are pairing styles that we've seen grow more popular. Mm-hmm. But now they're kind of putting it down as this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And that's nice because there's plenty of local events still kind of ran the old ways where it's like, oh, Swiss pairings, and then you see people trying to submarine, and it always gets a little awkward.
Yeah.
So what they do with pairings here is they recommend that you do basically random pairings within your win path. So if 2 players are 2-0, they could pair against each other. They have the same win-loss record and the same path because they've won every game. But if someone is 3-1, lost round 1, and 3-1, lost round 4, those players have the same win-loss record but different win paths. Mm. So they're going to prioritize putting people with the same win path into each other.
Okay, so basically it's not only... If there's 40 people who are 2-0 going into the third round,
anyone can play anyone.
Anyone can play anyone. But then as the tournament progresses, it's going to try to filter it so you play people who lost on a similar time with you.
Exactly. Yep.
Nice.
And the reason that they recommend this is because these players may kind of have a more similar, tournament experience, where someone who loses round 1 then wins 3 has had a different kind of run than someone who won 3, lost 1.
Yeah.
One player round 1 was like, well, I'm not winning the tournament, let's have some fun, and then they win a couple games.
Yeah.
Totally great. Mm-hmm. But then one person, went to bed on, one night like, all right, I'm 3-0, I'm in it, and then they lost the next round the next morning. Now, doesn't have to be a negative experience, but that is a different experience.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's a good acknowledgement of different people.
Yep. I've been a big fan of WinPath whenever I've played at the GW US Opens, so I think this is great. I really like the way they do pairings. I also like random within win-loss a lot. Mm-hmm. Just because I hated the idea that how many victory points you got in a game affected who you played next. Because then you would see players who were finishing later in the round checking the scores and and that's just... That doesn't need to be a thing. And there's nothing, I understand why people do that. It's not illegal, but...
Not everyone does it, but
let's remove it. Yeah, let's just remove it so it's not a problem. I think it's the best way to do it. Then they do a recommendation on rankings. So the overall best general will be the single remaining undefeated player at the end of the event. If you've got one undefeated, that seems pretty easy. And so what they do recommend is this series of tiebreakers. So the first is by overall record, win, loss, draw. Mm-hmm. Second, by opponent's win records. Mm-hmm. And then third by total victory points. So I do like essentially strength of schedule being the second second tiebreaker, aka first tiebreaker after win loss. I do like that more than points.
Yeah, I do too. Mm-hmm. I think strength of schedule makes more sense. It's nothing is going to be perfectly fair, but you need to have a tiebreaker in there. Yeah. So I really do like that strength schedule factors in more than victory points because it rewards you for playing harder people as opposed to rewarding you for just clubbing a seal.
I will say my personal preference is that win path would be a tiebreaker in between first and second here, where I think that going 3-1 where you, like, let's say a 5-round tournament. You go 4-1, you lose round 5.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that that's more impressive than going 4-1, losing round 1. And I wish that was reflected. Although, obviously, if you go 4-1, lost round 1 versus round 5, strength of schedule is probably going to reflect that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always.
Well, I don't want to exclude you just because, like, someone plays the winner of the tournament in round 1. And if you
Someone
play
does.
that guy, you're just at a disadvantage because of random chance now. So I
Yeah.
see that side to it.
Yeah. I get it. But then that also means that you would have a good win path.
There's no perfect tiebreaker.
There's no perfect tiebreaker. I do like victory points being the bottom of it, though. Mm-hmm. It has to exist, but I think it should be the bottom one. Mm-hmm. All right.
There is a $5 super chat, though, from Expedition. Loving all the new content. Do you think these fixed layouts will be widely used, or will player play still be the norm? I think these fixed layouts will maybe take some time to be accepted by the whole community, because people do have not necessarily terrain that matches that.
Yeah, just the physical limitations here.
Physical limitations. But I think this is something that over time the community is going to strive to work towards. And I imagine with time and with new mission sets and whatnot, these layouts will change. So it'll constantly be an ongoing process of evolution. But I think in general, if Games Workshop is going to step into the leadership role, people will follow.
Fully agreed. I do expect that we'll start to see these maps being used more and more. I would expect that, maybe if you're going to events later this year, not all of them are going to have this mission pack.
Yeah.
But in a year, 2 years, I would expect a lot of events are going to make an effort to, at a bare minimum, get the bases.
Yeah.
And then put their terrain on it.
Yeah. And it's nice to know, like, I have, up until this point, I'm not sure whether to put bases on my things, whether to put floors on my things to make use of the arcing fire rule, plunging fire. There's so many elements to the terrain, like, as Paul Murphy says in the commentary, like, it's just the third party at the table.
It really is.
Appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Expedition. No, there's an extra E in there. All right. Rules commentary is the thing that they already published. Look at that. Mm-hmm. And then they close it out with, what is the point of a tournament?
I thought this was nice.
This is nice.
This is like a nice little thing.
Yeah. So this is just a reminder, really, of what a tournament's about.
Yeah.
And a tournament's about going and enjoying your hobby. Even if it's your job, it's still also your hobby, right? Mm-hmm. And going and enjoying being a part of the community, going and having a good experience with a person across the table from you who is someone who has at least one mutual interest.
Yeah.
You've got something to talk about. You're making a new friend. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, almost everyone will lose the game and always have fun with it.
I also like that they did highlight the fact that it's not about winning the tournament, it's the experiences everybody has at the tournament. And as someone who's won plenty of tournaments, it really is about the experiences, not the trophy at the end.
Indeed. That is absolutely... Everyone I know who has played this game for a long time stays for the community more than the accolades.
100%.
All right. So I think that is the very end of the Leviathan pack.
That's going to be it. So, all right, everybody. Let us know what you thought. If you're happy with these changes, if you're happy with the direction, if you like these rules, if you want to debate the towering keyword, do it in the comment section. Let us know.
Absolutely. If you like this content, please like this content. Click the like button, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified the next time we go live with more awesome 10th edition 40k content. But let me give you a little surprise. We're going live very, very soon because Jack and Quentin are going to be writing a new list later this morning. I would expect that'll be starting in the next 15 minutes. We planned it for 10, but with new releases, we always change the schedule a little bit. So thank you so much for watching, for being a part of our community. And of course, if you want to get even more awesome 40k content from the Art of War, make sure you check out the War Room. You can find that link in the description below if you want to sign up with a free 3-day trial, learn how to play more, become your best, get to be a part of our awesome global community. You can become a member through YouTube or that link below if you want that free trial. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Bye. Bye-bye.